Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel. The crypto market is rebounding at the moment, and tons of chart analysts and on-chain analytics firms all believe that actually this really could be the moment where, after everything we've gone through, especially the last several days, we could finally be reversing. I'm going to share with you exactly why tons of analysts and at least one on-chain analytics firm in this video anyway, believe that this is indeed the case. Now, as far as XRP, boy, is it primed. No change on that. In fact, one analyst is highlighting that XRP is about to shatter a very key 6-year resistance level. And as far as I'm concerned, it's just a matter of time. Because, as I say from time to time, markets find bottoms. When something is priced poorly against something else, unless there's actually some fundamental thing that shifted and it's finally going to go to zero, unless there's something like that, markets find bottoms, there will eventually be a reversal. This is exactly what happened on the XRP USD chart last year. It's the same thing, not just last year, same thing for XRP BTC. But before going further, I do want to be clear, I do not have a financial background of any kind. I am not offering financial advice, and you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. As I record this video, it's 11:22 a.m. Central Time, which is my time zone. It is now Tuesday, September 2nd, 2025. XRP is $2.80. I'll take it. We've got some green here. The whole market's up. Bitcoin up as well. $111,213. Don't mind seeing that. Here we have a post from the Nijing Tropic account. This is run by the co-founders of Glassnode and Swissblock, and those are both on-chain analytics platforms. And so yesterday evening, you can already see the signs here, simply wrote, "We are getting close. Our liquidity metrics are showing stronger accumulation." And folks, I actually reposted this the other day, and I wrote something along the lines of, "It was never the end." It was something to that effect, because it's just so obvious. Like, we haven't topped for this market cycle. That is a virtual certainty. You'd have, if the market's already topped and this is it and we're going into a bear market, this is disastrously different than anything that's ever happened in the 16-year history of the crypto asset class. That wouldn't make any damn sense. Also, it wouldn't make sense just in terms of how humans behave based on the business cycle and based on global liquidity. It'd be such a market different compared to, like, do you really think we have the same human DNA, right, as last cycle and the cycle before that and so on? Given that's the case, do you think that humans are just no longer interested in rotating profits? Like, they don't want to try and get that extra squeeze. Like, they don't want to, they're no longer interested in maximizing profits and engaging in greed. Like, that's just done? I don't think so, folks. That doesn't make any sense. And data tells us that the crypto asset class led by Bitcoin absolutely follows global M2, and that's been rising. And I've highlighted in recent videos reasons to believe, Rob Paul's talked about it a lot, that what's almost certain is that even though we've recently hit all-time highs with global M2, it's actually going to continue in that direction, which would give crypto even more room to continue following. And so, yeah, there's a 3-month lag time, but because, it takes money a while to disperse into the asset class, and a certain amount goes into risk on assets like equities and cryptos, of course. But it's coming is the point. And so right here, look, I don't know for sure if we've actually literally bottomed. Yes, it's nice to see the market go up. I will just say this, even if the market does go a little bit lower, and if it's lower by the time you're watching this, because I can't see into the future, I'll just note, won't change anything. If it goes down a little bit, this is still normal volatility in the crypto asset class. If you're not ridiculously excited right now, then you're doing it wrong. Here's a post from on-chain analytics firm Swissblock. This is their regime shift chart, and it's an indicator of directionally, are we heading more bearish or bullish? And it helps you to figure out, including what's happening in the short term here. So they wrote, "The regime shift indicator flagged a structural change ahead. It happened when Bitcoin corrected quickly after printing a new all-time high at $124,500. The correction's low came after losing $110,000. Now, after consolidating, the indicator has turned bullish, and the key zone remains $110,000. A daily close above it would be the first step to confirm the structural shift." Now, I will note that this was posted at 8 a.m. today, this morning. So close to 3.5 hours ago. At least at the time I'm recording this, Bitcoin is above that key level they're talking about. It's above $111,000. And they think that this is at least, now they're not promising anything, but they're saying this is a good sign. If it closes above there, that would be the first indicator that, yeah, we're about to shift. And lots of analysts acknowledge that the way things are looking right now, any day could be the day where things turn around and you start seeing like the Russell 2000 breaking out small cap stocks, which would indicate a tremendous appetite for risk on assets. Because I mean, that's considered far more risky than large caps, of course. And when the Russell 2000 goes, historically, that's when altcoins start going. And we've been waiting several years for this, for both the Russell 2000 to hit a new all-time high and to have another proper alt season. Those things haven't happened, but we've never had a cycle end without them happening. I don't think this time is going to be different, folks. I really don't. Here's a post from chart analyst Gert Van Lagen, and he says the total 3 1-week chart has closed the August candle above the $1 trillion mark. Alts are ready to explode beyond imagination. Okay, that only makes sense. It would be so weird if that did not happen before this market cycle ends. And that level that he's citing there, 1 trillion, that's right, hanging around the previous high. So getting back up, then yeah, it's right against that key resistance level. It's so well positioned. When this thing breaks, it's going to go. And in fact, in this chart, he's projecting this thing going up to about $5.6 trillion. And my God, if he's right, whatever your altcoins are worth, it depends on what you're holding, but the multiplier compared to what they're worth today, I'm just telling you, it's not even going to be close. It will not even be close. Way higher. Here's a post from chart analyst Credible Crypto, and he posted this yesterday evening because somebody wrote to Credible Crypto and said, "Come on, Cred, you know in your gut we are going sub $100,000." I'm talking about Bitcoin, of course. Are we? Well, it's not impossible. Here's what he had to say about it, though, and he doesn't think it's likely. He says, could we go sub $100,000? Absolutely. I covered this scenario in my last YouTube video a month ago, because it was a distinct possibility that has merit. That being said, there have been a few times now in this cycle alone where we got very deep pullbacks after an impulsive move, but never hit invalidation and continued to climb. Now, I've got to pause and note, the reason that I really wanted to highlight this post, and I'll continue on in just a second here, it's because it's on a topic that I brought up within the last probably 2 or 3 days. At some point, I remember making a video and I was highlighting, guys, I was just stressing this point. I know that we were getting close to a key level of invalidation because there are multiple analysts that I follow that are warning, hey, if we go below $105,000 on Bitcoin, that could be serious trouble. In fact, the blockchain backer has been talking about how, for him, he thinks that might signal that the top is in for Bitcoin for this market cycle. So that sounds worrisome. We prefer that not be the case. Although even if it is, you could still have alt seasons, so it wouldn't screw things up for us as XRP holders necessarily. But you'd still prefer to see Bitcoin go higher, one final parabolic advance, because the more money that flows into the space, the more money is going to flow into your XRP and the rest of your altcoins. But I was citing, I have it for the last couple weeks, multiple analysts warning about that key level of roughly $105,000. And as we were getting closer in recent days, I warned, guys, I know we're right there, and it feels like we could just plummet through at any moment. And if we do, then I said, we'll talk about it. But usually what happens here, frequently what happens anyway, is you get close to these key levels where if you do fall through, it's going to be pretty rough, but you actually don't. And then you just rock it off. And there have been so many instances over the years that I've lived through, and you just see it getting super close. People are sweating bullets, but then it rockets to the upside. Here you have Credible Crypto echoing that sentiment, saying, yeah, you can get close to invalidation, as he just cited here, but then you can continue to climb. That's a key take, and that's what I was trying to get everybody calm down. I was like, if that happens, fine, we'll deal with it, we'll talk about it. But you shouldn't assume just because it's close that it will go through. It still makes sense to remain calm in those moments and not actually be concerned. And I cited tons of reasons for that. So anyway, and then he continues, usually sentiment is in the absolute gutter during these instances. 2 of the closest that come to mind off the top of my head was the $3.4 to $3.9 thousand wick in 2018, and the pullback just above $25,000 more recently. In both instances, we came within a few $100s of invalidation, but ended up reversing before invalidation was hit. I've shared images of both those instances below. At both of those times, I was steadfastly bullish and rewarded for it. Because at the end of the day, it's not about what my gut feels or how I feel. It's about whether or not a key level has been hit. And for now, it has not. So $105,000 remains the line in the sand that needs to be breached to throw out our most bullish scenario. And while we are close, we have been close before, and close is not enough to assume an invalidation. And so there you go. He says, yeah, if that happens, if it's breached, we can talk about the potential for sub $100,000 Bitcoin. It's not even worth talking about right now. It hasn't happened. And he doesn't think it's probable to happen. He acknowledges it could, but not probable. So now we're even higher from when I was last talking about that concept a few days ago. Hopefully we do continue the upside. I don't pretend to know for sure. I do know it doesn't make sense to worry about it, though. Here's another post from Credible Crypto, and I don't need to read it, but he was just pointing out here that he thinks XRP is going to substantially outpace Ethereum. And absolutely it will. From this point, not that there won't be individual short-term moments where, Ethereum might shine a bit, but on the whole from here, my God, XRP will continue to make Ethereum its tiny little baby back watch, because why the hell wouldn't it? XRP has been artificially suppressed for so many years, and so as it rockets up against the dollar at a substantial pace, you better believe when you look at that XRP ETH pair, it's going to look pretty devastating for any ETH maxis out there who hate XRP, I'll tell you that. Here's a post from Crypto Wizard, XRP BTC chart here. I was referencing this one at the outset of the video. And this is a fun one. I really love this chart. Check this out. He wrote the following. The Great Wall. It's coming down. XRP has been trading under a 6-year resistance against Bitcoin, but it's only a matter of time until it breaks. Patience pays. And this is what I was talking about. Again, a year ago, when you look at the XRP USD chart, it was looking pretty damn poor. And so fine, yeah, XRP had been rising at least. It had been rising against the dollar since it bottomed. XRP bottomed June of 2022 at 28 cents. But it wasn't up like a crazy amount. There are tons of coins that had substantially outpaced XRP. And so I was like, guys, markets find bottoms. You should not assume that just because XRP is here, that it's just going to stay down here. And now you've got XRP, and it did pick up some ground against Bitcoin. Don't get me wrong. Like in November, it obviously did. If you're looking at the screen, you can see that. But we still haven't gotten above this key level that it's been under for literally 6 years. I'm telling you, it's going to smash through this thing before the cycle's over. And I'd say there's a very good chance that we are going to see a new all-time high finally on the XRP BTC chart. We haven't had a new all-time high since the first half of 2017. That's when we got the high on the XRP BTC chart. But as I will continue to insist, markets find bottoms. And we already found the bottom on this chart last year, for this cycle anyway. And don't expect it to be done. XRP will also make Bitcoin its tiny little baby back watch. I mean, it already has. It's just going to do that even more embarrassingly for all of the toxic Bitcoin maximalists out there. You'll love to see it. It brings great joy to me. Here's chart analyst Ali Martinez, and he says, TD sequential flashes back-to-back buy signals on XRP, rebound setup in play. So another analyst with very short-term optimism here on XRP, and in higher time frame too, but he's just referencing the short-term here. I'm seeing a lot of this, a lot of optimism that what's probably going to happen is the market's turning around at this moment. So we'll see if that comes to pass. But right now, fingers crossed, knock on wood, it's probably fine. Here's a post from chart analyst CW, and he says, Bitcoin has rallied once after breaking through its all-time high. It is currently preparing for the next phase. Large cap altcoins like Ethereum, XRP, and Solana are knocking on their all-time highs. They will soon break through their all-time highs and begin a real rally. That's when the real alt season and bull market begin. Bitcoin also shown sideways near its all-time high about 6 months. And so there's another analyst acknowledging how perfectly primed this market is. And I keep seeing that from every analyst that I follow. Wick, you're at these key levels. So there are certain charts on a macro scale where they've already broken through resistance. There are other charts, depending on what you're looking at, where you're sitting right below a key resistance level, but it's all right there. It won't take much to get everything just moving. I think if we just sit tight, just wait a little bit, whatever it ends up being, and I do not pretend to know what the time frame is going to be, probably sooner than later, we're going to get rewarded. That's my supposition. I think that is by far the most probable outcome here. Historically, that makes sense. And there are other reasons too. I keep talking about global liquidity. There's a lot of reasons though. Here's a post from Charting Guy, XRP USD. He says, XRP 2017 fractal is still playing out, in my opinion, but it's taking a little longer as this cycle seems to be just like 2017, but a bit stretched. What days are the ETF deadlines again? Also, what if the $26 Moon Boys are right? Well, they could be. I mean, the analysts, there are lots of reputable analysts that are calling for $20 to $30 XRP. I do not know if they'll end up being proven correct, but I don't think that's crazy, and it's certainly possible that it could occur. But, maybe the more conservative predictions from, for instance, like the blockchain backer are right. He's talking about more like $8 to $10. I'll still be happy with that personally. I know not all of you listening will be, but maybe the truth is somewhere in between. I think that a lot of you listening are probably going to be very happy with how this thing plays out, but let's just see how things go. But as far as the cycle being stretched out here, you know what that makes me think of, right? That makes me think of the handful of analysts I follow, and it's not many, who are arguing that there's a really good chance that this cycle is going to extend into 2026. Now, it's not many of them, but the ones who are talking about that are some heavyweights in the crypto space, like Raoul Pal and TechDev, not fly-by-night individuals. These are analysts with great track records, very data-driven, not whimsically saying nonsense on the internet. And so given their track records, who they are, the reputations, I'm taking it seriously. I don't know if that's going to come to pass, but they cite the business cycle as a primary reason. And, if that's the case, then, we got to wait a little bit longer than what we were thinking to actually have a proper alt season, but it would still be coming. So anyway, the reason I even mentioned that is because he's saying, Charting Guy right here is saying, this is like 2017. It's just taking longer. It's like, well, if he's right and it's taking longer, then that's in line with what Raoul Pal's saying and TechDev and maybe like one or two others that I follow. So sometimes minority opinions end up being the right opinions. Not usually, but sometimes. We'll find out together. Here's a post from chart analyst E. Greg Crypto. He says, XRP throwback update. For a bullish continuation, XRP needs to close above the following key levels: $2.85, $2.95, and also $3.13. And of course, $3.40, which would signal a new all-time high. Of course, the new all-time high is $3.65, but I think he's talking about just finally getting to the point where you get that push up there. It says, however, we are still seeing a retest of $2.65, which has been my target price for a retest. A close below $2.65 could lead to further downside. Let's hope that $2.70 was the low point, but remember, $2.65 remains our crucial support level. Now, he posted that this morning at 1:46 a.m. Markets come up a bit since then. So he was playing with the idea, obviously, here that there's a chance that low is actually in. That's in line with what I keep seeing from tons of analysts. It could be done here. Here's a post from chart analyst Steph Crypto, XRP falling wedge, and he's just noting that he thinks this is a falling wedge pattern, and we're about to break out of this bad boy. So yet another analyst that thinks we're getting very close to the point where, yes, XRP indeed is going to break to the upside. And then there's this. This is a TradingView post here. They're citing chart analyst Oscar Ramos. And this is titled, XRP forms double bottom at $2.70. Analyst marks level as oversold. So I'm not going to read through this. I don't think it's necessary for to kind of get the core idea across. And just for the sake of time here, I won't read through this. But it's an analyst here acknowledging, hey, this looks oversold. And ultimately, the impression given is this very well may be the bottom as a result. And again, I keep seeing that, yes, from analysts that are tracking XRP, but also in the broader crypto ecosystem. So we'll see what happens here. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.